And what we're starting off here is the rotor head for the T-Rex 450 Pro. The first job you need to do with this rotor head is to basically go around all of the screws which are metal to metal, unscrew them, re-Loctite them, and then put it back together again. And the reason we need to do that is that although this is pre-assembled, when I checked mine I discovered that both the feathering spindle bolts had no Loctite on them. There was no Loctite on the screws for the upper mixer arms. One swash plate ball was missing Loctite, and one of the balls, and I can't remember which one it was, but one of the balls on one of the mixing arms was also missing Loctite. So you need to be vigilant really, and although it's pre-installed, you've got to take it apart and find out which screws are missing Loctite. Once you've done that, we can actually start getting into doing the assembly of the rotor head. There's not a great deal to do. As we can see here, I've got the fly bar, and one of the jobs we need to do is to install the fly bar and put the paddles on the end, and that actually completes the rotor head, and it can be installed onto the main shaft and put onto the main frames. So we just insert the fly bar like that into the rotor head, and then the next job is to make sure that we have the same length of rod sticking out each side of the rotor head. And the way that we do that is we use something like this, which is just digital calipers, to measure the distance and make sure that we have an even amount each side. And then once we've done that, we can install the paddles, repeat the process, make sure the paddles are screwed on exactly the same amount, and then that keeps the whole rotor head in balance. So I'm going to go ahead and centre this fly bar up and install the paddles, and you can have a look and see what that looks like. Okay, so here we have the paddles now installed and the fly bar installed, and I've screwed these fly bar paddles down. According to the manual, it says that there should be approximately a gap of 75mm here. Well, my paddles didn't get stiff enough that I think that they will hold in flight until it got to 72mm for this distance here. And you must verify with calipers that this distance here is exactly the same for both paddles, otherwise your rotor head will be out of balance. And then that's pretty much it. That can now be fitted onto a main shaft and installed onto the main frames, which is the next job that we'll do. Okay, here we have the main shaft installed onto the rotor head, and I've put the bolt through the rotor head just here. I haven't put the locking, well, it's not a locking nut actually, it's just an ordinary nut on the other side here. It's an M2 nut, so you'll need to put some thread lock on the thread sticking out there and then tighten it up. Now the main shaft itself, this little ring here is not centre, and what you'll find if you measure the main shaft is that there is a longer section of the main shaft, and then there's a section which is slightly shorter, and it's the slightly shorter piece from here to the end which goes down into the main gear, and the longer end goes up into the rotor head. If you put it in the wrong way round, you'll find that you've got rather a lot of shimming to do in order to make sure that there isn't any vertical play in the main shaft. So just to repeat, you want the shorter end of the main shaft going down into the main gear. Now on my particular main shaft, it's the, I don't know if you can see that, but it's the end with a line written on it. The top half here, the longer section, doesn't have a line written on it. Now that may not be the same in all kits, but certainly for my main shaft it's the bit with a line on that goes down into the main frames and into the gear. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and install that into the frames. I've got those ready over here. Now obviously these come pre-built. All we need to do is make sure that the gear itself is in the main frames, and there's a little spacer on top of the gear as well. You need to make sure that that little spacer, there we go, taking it off, to make sure that little spacer is actually on there before you install the main gear into the frames. So that's going to go in there, and then the main shaft is going to go down through the top of the frames, and it should all line up quite nicely. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so I've now installed the main shaft with the rotor head on into the frames, and I've put the bolt preliminarily in the gear at the bottom here. And what I'm checking for now is to see if there's any vertical play in my main shaft. And as you can probably see here, there's a tiny bit there. You can see the main gear moving up and down. Okay, and that needs to be fixed so there isn't any play there. And what Align provides you with are these little spacers. You can see those there. These are shims, and they go underneath the ring on the main mast and just space it away a little bit to get rid of that vertical play. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shim it, and I don't know whether I need one of these or two of these, but I'm going to shim it to get rid of that vertical play, and then I'll come back and show you how it's fixed. Okay, so here we are back again. I've just got one shim in here underneath that main shaft ring, and having put the screws back into it again, if I pull on the end here, there's now I can't feel any clicking or any vertical play in that shaft at all. So that's now nice and solid, and we can put the nut on the rotor head at the top here and the nut on the main gear underneath, and then that's the rotor head installed onto the main frames.